Talking to 1+1.
My pleasure.
Now, you've established yourself as an artist, but your background wasn't always the case, was it? You had a career in television. What made you make that switch?
Look, it just happened sort of pretty organically. I had the opportunity to go overseas after I won the Whiteley Scholarship. I was happy to get out of TV just quietly. It's a bit of a... I wasn't really made for that high-pressure sort of place of work. And then that's when I sort of resorted to sitting in my studio all day and planning new paintings.
Was there anything in your family background when you were growing up that led you to become an artist?
Mum always made art, and she did lots of courses at TAFE, and I would always go along as having a sickie, wagging school, and Mum would drag me along to art class thinking this will get Ben out of ever wanting to have a sick day again. But I loved it. It was just this incredible place where people got together and created things, almost senseless but really sort of pure and beautiful, and I thought there's something about that that's pretty magic.
And a few years back you were really reflecting on yourself as a young man, the road rage, I guess male sexuality, male angst, and those were, I guess, the works that really first brought you to public notice.
Yeah, it's something I've always been interested in and repulsed by and attracted to, and that period of my life when from going from school and 13 years of being in an institution to being an adult and having a licence and being able to drink. It's actually really, really sort of period of massive flux and upheaval, and there's no real way that our society lets young men into that. There's no initiation ceremony. Aboriginal people had this incredibly intense and very long period of initiation. We have one night, an 18th birthday party, and here, drink this huge amount of alcohol, which is just a legal drug, and wake up the next morning with a massive hangover, and you're an adult. That's absurd. It's a ridiculous thing to do to a young boy. Absolutely ridiculous, dangerous thing to do to a young boy. And then I look back and found that for the next 6 or 8 or 10 years, the group of men that I hung around initiated each other in a way, and made up, without a real conscious awareness of what they were doing, made up paths of initiation and ceremonies to initiate themselves. And they often include cars and alcohol and drugs and sex and the discussion between masculinity of those things, almost celebrating that debaucherousness.
Did you ever cop any flack because you chose to be an artist from your contemporaries? They thought that's a bit of a girly thing to do, or it's not what you would expect that you would do?
Well, I look back and I think that probably some of them thought those things, but I was one of those young men who was ready to, defend myself and defend everything about myself, and, shower vibes of masculinity out there to scare people away from being critical. And I also had a very supportive group of mates who are still strongly close. We don't see each other all the time, but we're very supportive. I think we all feel that we've shared this common experience, which was at times very dangerous and fatal in one instance.
So one of your friends, was killed in a car crash?
No, he died at a Bucks party.
So did your friend die from over drinking at the Bucks party?
Oh, he actually drowned off a boat.
And because of alcohol, possibly?
Yeah, a lot of things.
Now, in 2009, you really went into the public eye with your double portraits of the rock star Jimmy Barnes. One of them won the Moran Prize, and the other was runner-up in the Archibald Prize. Now, Jimmy Barnes, as your subject, a celebrity sitter, I suppose there is that connection to that male initiation that he also went through.
It became very obvious that he was a perfect sitter for me. He not only was he a friend, but he also fitted in with the whole rite of passage, the whole madness of young masculinity. He showed me photos from when he was in Cold Chisel of him off his face, and just had all these stories and awareness of his masculinity and the madness of it. And
that thrust you into the spotlight, and there was money with it, quite good money from the Moran Prize. That must have changed your life quite a lot, I would have thought.
Yeah, it did. It did. It meant that I paid a hell of a lot of tax that year, And I still find it very uncomfortable. A lot of sportsmen don't pay nearly as much tax as visual artists, which, don't get me started on that.
But I think I will have to.
You might have to, yeah. I mean, it's only, I still don't even know where the legislation sits about the Institute of Sport and those people paying back the HECS debt, where I slogged off my HECS debt for years and years doing odd jobs. I just find that so incongruous. And there's countries in Europe that are the polar opposite. Artists pay no tax, sports people pay tax like everybody else. I think it's very sort of telling about how our society places such importance on that physical and masculine way of identifying ourselves.
So what is it, do you think, about politicians here, that they don't really value the arts the way they do value sports? And, it was very evident in the last election campaign that the arts policies from the coalition and from the government were very low on the agenda.
The arts policies of both governments are a disgrace, really. Just a disgrace, but it's been something that I think this country has fought in a way that that hardship that the arts has faced has made it a very strong community, very outspoken people, very loyal to each other.
Well, one person who you did paint recently was Germaine Greer. Tell me how that came about.
I asked her if she'd sit for me, and she said, "Sure," naked in a red scarf. And I thought, what have I got myself into?
She probably wasn't kidding.
No, she wasn't, but then she wore clothes and drank gin and smoked cigarettes, and I made a painting of her the morning after doing that. And she let me into her life for a few days, and I got to know her and speak to her, and she's a pretty amazing person. I haven't walked away from meeting someone feeling so uplifted and totally devastated at the same time.
Now, that portrait you entered in the Archibald Prize last year, that one didn't get accepted.
No.
That must have been a bit upsetting for you, I imagine.
Yeah, I became obsessed with this painting of Germaine Greer, and I ended up making 6 enormous portraits of her, filled my studio, trying to... something about Germaine that I realised, that she has these unreachable, unrealistic views of where society should be at. Which is, in a way, I found quite depressing, and it didn't get in. So it was disappointing.
Well, you've been...
But the Art Gallery of New South Wales just made a terrible mistake.
Well, you've been there, a shining star 5 times, yeah. But in a way, and you did that relatively early on in your career, so do you fall harder when you rise quickly, and then a rejection like that is even harder to take?
No, I think, no, I've never really, because it's such a passion for me, I actually, when it comes to it, even a big, terrible review, and I've had some really bad reviews, one particular one of my second solo exhibition ever in Melbourne was absolutely torn apart.
Of course, when you're really famous, you just say, I never read reviews.
Yeah, I'd read them. Bloody oath, I read them. Searching the internet. What did they say?
So, Ben Quilty, in the future, do we look forward to, as the bard would say, seeing you sans eyes, sans teeth, sans everything as you evolve from a young man to an old man?
Quite possibly, yeah, a walking stick. I don't... Look, it's autobiographical. I'll make work about exactly what's happening around me. And the next thing I really want to make something more beautiful and less dark.
Okay, Ben Quilty, thank you very much for talking to 1+1.
Thank you.